What is going on, guys? Welcome to Space Engineers, a tutorial on sorting and organizing all of your items within storage containers, as well as sorting all of your assembler and refinery outputs into designated cargo containers so that it is a lot easier to find them later on. I did a video on this about 6 years ago, not quite as in depth, so I wanted to redo it. A more updated video with a little bit more detail. Especially, I got lots of tips in the comments on that video a long time ago, so I wanted to do an update. So if you've played survival in Space Engineers, you probably know, especially once you start building lots of cargo containers, assemblers, refineries, and stuff like that, if you're not using sorters, you probably know how much of a pain in the ass it is to go through your inventory and try to find, a specific item. You knew you had a bunch of interior plates, but you can't find them because they're hidden, they're tucked away in a connector somewhere, and you could have dozens of connectors throughout your base. So hopefully this video will help you out to kind of give you an idea on how to solve that problem without using any mods or scripts. This is 100% vanilla. Now, would scripts be better for this? Yeah, probably. But a lot of people don't like using scripts and don't like using mods, and there's nothing wrong with that. So the point of this video is to hopefully help you out. So in here is my test world that I went ahead and made to demonstrate this. Obviously, it does not have to be built the same way, but hopefully some of the tips with the sorters can help you understand a little bit better and try to get your own base nice and organized. So one of the main components of your base and mining and finding resources and stuff is you're going to have a connector where you're going to connect your ship. You might have come back from a mining run. You might have found an outpost and ground it down, so you have a bunch of components in your ship. So the first thing in your system is obviously going to be a connector. So you'll connect your ship here, and what you want it to do is you don't want all of the stuff to just drain into that connector and sit there. So the first thing you want is a sorter pulling it out, and it's going to send it down towards all of your cargo containers. So here, for example, there's one line going down, and you can see all the sorters going into the cargo containers. I'll get to those in a second. I will get to the assembler as well in a second. The first thing is you want this sorter here. This sorter is very simple. You're going to ignore the filter mode. You don't have to worry about that for this one. Drain all on. That's the important part. If you don't have that on, it's not going to do anything. So you connect your ship. Sorter is going to suck everything out of your ship, aside from, I believe if you have ice in your H2O2 generator on your ship, it'll leave it alone. At least in my experience, that's what's happened. So it pulls it out, goes down this sorter. It's going to send it down this conveyor line here. And I have 4 cargo containers here. Again, you could have 2, you could have 1, you could have 12. It doesn't matter. It will work the same no matter how many cargo containers you have, as long as you're filtering them properly. My cargo containers are a little bit out of order. I kind of did it on purpose this way. So this cargo container is for ingots, then components, ammo and tools, oxygen bottles, hydrogen bottles, and all of your guns and stuff like that. Down here is ores and ice. Now, you can just select ores, and I believe ice will work as well, but this will be the first sorter we're going to take a look at. Drain all is off on this one. You don't need it on. And I have selected ore and ice. I believe ice falls under this category, so it probably doesn't really matter, but I put it in there anyways. It doesn't hurt. So what this is going to do is that sorter back there is going to drain it all. It's going to push it all into this conveyor. This sorter is whitelisted for ores and ice, so it's going to accept it. It's not draining it. And all of that stuff is going to go into your ores and ice container. Now from there, obviously you want to process all of your ore, turn it into ingots. So I have here a 6 refinery setup. Again, you can do whatever you want. 1, 20, 100, doesn't matter. Works the same. And I have it coming out of this side connector. It's getting pushed in there, and it will immediately fill in side of this container, and it'll act as a bit of a buffer, because the refineries on their own, they're gonna pool all the ore. But if you have so much ore that it can't all fit in the refineries, then you're going to want a cargo container to kind of act as a buffer to hold it while it's processing. From there, it's going to come out, For this setup, I have two different sorters. The reason I did that, the one on the right is going to be all of your iron, nickel, silicone. The one on the left is going to take all of the higher end materials, which take a lot longer to process. And you can do it all on one sorter if you want. If you want your refinery bank to process everything, it's nice to split it up, because say you're running low on iron, but your refineries are busy processing a bunch of uranium or platinum stuff that takes a long time to process. You're going to want room for the iron to get processed. So with this, all of your high-end stuff could be over here processing, and these refineries are going to remain open and available so that you can refine iron, nickel, silicone, things that you use a lot more often, so you'll run out of them a lot more often. So with that, comes out of the side of the cargo container. It's a T-junction, and here, this one is set to drain all on, because you want it to pull all of the ore out of the cargo container. Cargo container is just acting as a buffer, holding your ice, stuff like that. So the active filters on here, you have your iron, nickel, silicone, your basic resources, as well as stone, because stone processes very fast, and sometimes you're going to end up with stone, so you want it to get processed. So those will go into these three. Now with these, say your iron and nickel and stuff like that, not as hard to come by, you might want to put speed modules on here. I personally use yield modules for literally everything. Like, why not? You're doubling the amount of resources. I'd rather place 10 extra refineries with yield modules than dealing with speed modules. That's my personal opinion. You can use speed modules if you want. Same with this bank. Obviously your higher end stuff, uranium, platinum, you're going to absolutely want yield modules. There's no reason to use speed modules for those materials. So very similar, comes off the T, except this side, drain all on, of course, you want it to pull them out. You have everything else, magnesium, uranium, platinum, gold, silver, cobalt. Might be missing something, but you get the point. All of these take a lot longer to process, especially cobalt. Now, you could also, if you have a really big base, you can modify it. That's the great thing about this game. Tear stuff out, modify it, make it better, make it bigger. You can have 3 sorters or 4 sorters coming off and having a bank with iron and nickel, another bank with maybe silicone and magnesium, another bank with uranium and platinum, and so on and so forth. Do it the way you want it. I'm just hoping that this kind of gives you the idea on how to do it. It's going to be the same thing. Now from there, once these guys are processing, and actually, let me go ahead. I have this container here. Pretend it's a spaceship. You know, I just got back from a mining expedition, and I have all these lovely ores: iron, nickel, silicone, uranium, gold, and magnesium. And let's go ahead and hook it up to this conveyor. It's going to act as a ship that's being connected. We'll put that on there. It should start pulling all of this out. See, the sorter is going to take it, drain it, and it should not be in any of these. There's a little bit coming in here because it's going through the refinery now. Nothing in here, nothing in there, and in here you're gonna have a little bit of the ore showing up. It's gonna get sucked right back out because of the sorters back here. So if let's just take a look on the end right here. You can, actually that is wrong. Yep, I made a boo-boo. All right, so we got nickel silicone on this right bank. I made a boo-boo, so I had that connected on the top, so you can stick a sorter in there. Sorters, they're like check valves. So it still has some in here. I might actually be able to send those back over a little bit. All right, well, ignore that mistake. So you want that sorter up there, because if you don't have it, it's going to push all the iron and whatnot into here, and then it's going to push it back over through the top. You don't want that. So got the sorter here. Nothing from this right bank can go over there. So that aside, you know, you got uranium, magnesium, ignore the silicone, uranium and magnesium. So all of that stuff's going to process. I knew I should have tried this before I started recording, but that's fine. That's actually, it's a good example of if something's wrong, you can find it and fix it. So yeah, all your high grade materials are going to go on that side. When they get done, they're going to turn into ingots, and they'll drain through the top with your sorter to make sure it doesn't bleed backwards. You want to keep it all flowing in the same direction. From there, these are all connected, and it's going to come down to this sorter right here. Now this guy is going to kind of connect back onto this main line, and everything coming out of this sorter will not go over here because of this sorter. This sorter is also important because it is also set to drain all, but it is draining ingots and gravel. Because remember, stone is going to create gravel. Gravel is not in the ingot category. And also, your list is down here. You have these guys in the asterisks, and that's kind of a ingots, for example. If you do that, it will do all things named ingot. So all of these are grouped into this category. So that is going to drain. That's going to go through this main line, and it will go into this last or first cargo container down here. So we should be able to look in here. We can see our iron has processed, so it's not going up anymore. Nickel also does take quite a while to process compared to iron. So again, that's where you can decide how you want to set up your sorters and refinery banks. Do it the way that works for you. A little bit of the uranium is processing as well. It's also very slow, but as you can see, all of your ingots and stuff like that are going to end up in here, which leads to these 4 sorters on the back sides of the containers. All of these are doing is saying, hey, I only want these things going in that cargo container. And these are not set to drain all, because your sorter back here from the refineries is draining it and it's pushing it. So there's no reason to have drain all on this sorter. You can, I think. I don't think it'll cause any issues, but I leave it off. Again, ingots and gravel, exactly the same as that sorter back there. Your next cargo container, very similar. Drain all is off, and it's going to be components only. And I will show you where we're going to be using that in a second. Very similar to this one. Drain all is off. All your ammo, your hand tools. I don't know if that includes weapons under hand tools. I don't think it'll show, but like rifles and stuff like that. I don't know. If it doesn't, you can just add it. Find it in the filter options and just hit add, and it'll start pulling it or allowing it to go into this cargo container. And we already went over this one. That was ores and ice. All right, so components. All of your components you want to have in one cargo container. This is the big thing with like your survival worlds and stuff. If you have just tons of components, interior plates, steel plates, all of that, eventually they're going to be staggered everywhere in connectors, random cargo containers. So with this, you have a designated spot where all of your components will be. And the way that works is over here on the side, similar to the refineries, is this is your this is your ingot storage. So obviously you use all of your ingots to create components. So those will go into this assembler. I don't have a sorter here. It will pull the ingots as they're needed. So if you look in here, there are no ingots in here. So you don't need to have a sorter pushing ingots in here. The assembler is going to pull the ingots as they're needed. So let's say we want to make 1,000 steel plates. It's going to pull the iron ingots that it needs. And when it gets done making the 1,000 steel plates, this should be empty. All right, I went ahead and threw a little speed module on there just to kind of speed it up a little bit. But as you can see, as it's processing these steel plates, it's not sitting in the assembler until you go through and grab them yourself. They're immediately being pulled out and stuffed down into your cargo components container right there. So that is extremely nice to have all of your various items sorted into cargo containers in a designated way, so you know exactly where to find them. If you needed to go grab a couple of ingots for some reason, grab them and stick them in a ship to go do some trading or something like that, you know they're all in here. All your components are going to be in one, all your ammo and tools are in another, and then this you probably won't really mess with very much. It's a buffer container really, so it's not going to have anything in it unless your refineries are completely full and they don't have anywhere else to put the ore. That's really the only use for this cargo container. So obviously, you know, in your base, you're probably not going to have your containers laid out like this. Again, I did it to demonstrate the system working. And another issue that you might run into when you're building this and stuff is, say you have your ingot container here and your assembler is hooked up, not running or anything, but it's just chilling, and you notice that it's cycling. The ingots are getting pulled in and then they're getting pulled out, kind of like a round robin effect. One issue you might have is your main sorter here that's draining from the connector. It doesn't have any filters or anything on it, so it is literally just draining everything. If you have that ahead of this line, so like right here for example, then you have this sorter behind it, so it's going to drain it's going to suck everything from here in this direction. You don't want that. So keep this sorter as far back from everything else that you have, because it is not filtered and it will just cycle in a circle. But we don't have that issue with this sorter because it's got filters. Only gonna take components, hand tools, ammo, hydrogen, oxygen bottles, stuff that the assembler crafts will get pulled out, if that makes sense. So if you have that issue where you see stuff cycling, you've got a sorter somewhere that's in the wrong spot. It's set to drain all. If it is meant to have filters, make sure it's got the filters. If it isn't supposed to have filters, like this one, move it. Move it on the back, down the line. Okay. So you see the 1000 steel plate are done. The ingots container is still going because the refineries, they're going to be going for a minute. Like I said, some of this stuff is really, really slow. So your 1000 steel plate is done. You have no ingots in here. You might end up getting ingots building up in here a little bit if you're, let's say, you know, you want to produce some of that, some of this, and then you cancel these, then you're going to end up having some ingots kind of chilling in here. They should get used up later on when you start crafting more stuff. It shouldn't really back up. If it does back up, I don't really have a fully automatic solution for that, but I can't see it happening unless maybe this container gets completely full of ingots. Then what you could do is you can add more containers. And a pretty easy way to do that would be to literally just place another container right in front of it and just run a few containers down and then just pull out from the end furthest away from the sorter that is putting the ingots in there. All right, those components should be done as well, those few that I did, and you can see they're all in here. All of your components will be in one spot. Same goes, like I said in the beginning, if you're on a mission to salvage another ship or another station or something and you're full up on all kinds of just random components, stock up and it'll drain them all out and stick them right here, right into your component storage. It's going to drain it all and it's going to say, hey, these are components, stick them in here. You could have ores as well. Maybe you went on a long trip and did mining and salvaging. Again, it's going to figure out exactly where it needs to put your stuff. So I think that is going to do it on this video, guys. I really hope that you found it helpful in some way. If you're having any issues, leave a comment. I'll try to get back to it, or I'm sure there are other people who will also respond to help you out. If you want to check out my survival series that I've been working on, please feel free. They'll be linked at the end of this video. Please leave a like, it helps me out immensely, and subscribe if you want to see more. I hope you guys have a fantastic day.